YouTube. How you going? Happy Boxing Day. My brother left this delicious 4X gold in my fridge. So, it's delightful. Nice and light. I wonder how many I could have. I reckon 2 in the first hour and 1 every hour, and I can still drive. With the delicious power of 4X gold. And that's a responsible parent. You can have a delicious drink, and you're always ready to go if you need to jump in the car and drive anyway. We've got our special mate, Hayes Media Group. I think Australia Month would have not happened. It wouldn't have happened without Hayes. Hayes really kicked it off. He got the ball rolling with it in an extraordinary way, and he tapped in his fans, because it's always like, Hayes or whoever we are on social media. It's the people who watch our stuff and share our stuff. Hayes tapped into his fan base who love and appreciate him, and they shared it and jumped on the bandwagon with Australia Month last year, and it was absolutely terrific. I couldn't do it. It wasn't me who got it out there. It was Hayes Media Group who got it out there. So he is the absolute legend. Truly appreciate the man. I found him on Twitter, and I connected with him, and I thought he's a man of rugged Australiana who speaks the truth. I think when he says it, it's passionate and it's truthful, and he doesn't have to be fake. You know what I mean? He says it how it is, how he sees it, and I appreciate him. Hayes Media. Hey, bro.
G'day, brother. Merry Christmas, and I hope you've had a bonza Boxing Day. I've got me some JD and Coke in hand this year, so glad to be here. Thank you for having us on, and that introduction, mate. The feels. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Look. Yes, I played a big role in Australia Month last year, but I cannot take full credit. A lot of credit has to go to yourself, Dave Pello, John Lawson. You all did a bang-up job. I did well on the social media side of things, but it's not a one-man show. It's not a one-man show.
It's like Australia Month is really the people who just jumped on the bandwagon with it. Like, they shared the hashtag Australia Month, and just random pages were just running with it. Like, I shared yesterday, some random dude I didn't even know said, like, Australia Month is coming, and I'm like, yes. And that's the energy. Like, it became this. So I think, like, a lot of them people maybe they don't even know you and I. They don't even know, like, they've somehow come across it and just ran with it themselves, you know what I mean? And that's the power of Australia Month. Like, I hope there's 100,000 people and no one even knows the Dusty Bogan, or like our little. It's like if we knock that first domino, that's all that matters. Like, everything else is about the culture of people running with something, and making it their own.
Yeah, look, it was such a rousing success last year that you're right. A lot of people that just randomly, no connection to you or I, just jumped on the bandwagon, and you're right, the energy is already starting to build. I didn't really get into the swing of it until probably about the 13th of this month, once Dave got the 2025 merch up and running, and I started putting a few posts out. And the funny thing was, I went and did a bit of a search. There were people that were already pushing and promoting Australia Month that have no association with us whatsoever. It's that one punch. It's that one punch in fighting back against the woke that keeps pushing against us every year with this Invasion Day bullshit. I mean, to the point, you've got the New South Wales Parliament are currently petitioning for a federal holiday for January to be Tamil month. Now, like, when I first heard this, I'm like, what the fuck is a Tamil? I had to go and look this shit up. They're from Sri Lanka. And they're like, we've got to give them credit for everything they've done for Australia. It's like, I'm sorry, what? I'd never even heard of these people until I saw this story, and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
January is Australia Month. We've already claimed it. We've staked the flag in the ground. This is our land. We're going to take it back, and we're going to make it great again. It's literally what Australia Month is about. We're going to celebrate Australians and Australiana. I don't care where you've come from. If you're going to come here, assimilate properly, right, and be an Aussie to the point where you're happy to go out, buy a bit of Australia Month merch. It's getting ridiculous out there. Like, everybody wants to come to this great nation, but they don't want to assimilate. They want to change things. They want to, well, we need better representation. Well, no. How about you be an Australian and then you've got all the representation you need? You're represented by other fucking Australians.
Mm-hmm. Be a part of Australia. Like, I'm born in New Zealand, and I assimilated to Australia. I don't wear All Blacks jumper when New Zealand's playing. I back Australia. Like, I'm Australian. I became an Australian citizen. I love Australia. Like, that's assimilation. But I'm an Anglo. Like, I'm Anglo-Celtic, so that's much easier. Like, I think we'll find, you know, look, you have Kiwis who come in and South Africans and Poms and Irishmen who still come in. Are still coming in, you know, to the country. And mainland Europeans, they come in, and it's easier for them to assimilate because they are of European heritage or Anglo-Celtic heritage, and like, that's awesome. We appreciate them, and as much as I also love the Anglosphere and other European countries, like, terrific. It is hard. I think the idea was never successfully done like civic nationalism. I got my citizenship, and it was very civic nationalism. It was like, you can become Australia, Aussie, oi, 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 like this, you know, and I thought that's great. Like, Ipswich City Council, the man, there was, you know, probably majority of the councillors and some state representatives were of the Labor Party, but it was very civic nationalist minded. I thought it was terrific, but it's like they do it in one hand, maybe at your ceremony, and in the other hand, they're kind of actually more globalist, more multicultural, and on the side of multiculturalism. They're totally forgetting about Anglo-Celtic Australian heritage, and they're not even really, you know, Anglo-Celtic heritage. Even inside their multicultural worldview, our Anglo-Celtic heritage is a huge part of the nation, and it should be absolutely respected. White Australians should not have to capitulate at all on anything. And on top of that, like, Anglo should be respected. Anglo-Celtic Australians should be 100% respected for all the achievements. And what a great culture, what a great, you know, families, what a terrific tradition, what a great, you know, what a great successful nation we have created. But then there's like, is the attempt for civic nationalism is not really being done. Multiculturalism is the thing, and mass migration is the thing, and it doesn't seem to be working. It's an absolute shame. I don't think. I think people come here and they want a better life and they want to try and make an honest living, but it's not. I don't believe it's working. I think it's not working.
Nah, multiculturalism is a failed experiment, mate. There's plenty of studies out there already. They quite clearly show that a multicultural society, is a low trust society. Right? The way the groups, that they intrinsically self-segregate. I mean, we see it in every city we go to. Like, you've got your Wogs that have taken their part of the city, you've got your Angles that have taken their part of the city, then you've got your Pajeets that have taken their part of the city, and And nobody really wants to intermix, but everybody wants to drive everybody out and completely just disregard everything that we've built in the last 200 years. We were left here to our own devices, and this is the society we've created. Given the last 30 or so years have been an absolute fucking shit show, let's be honest, because that was when they really started to ramp up this multicultural angle. I mean, to the point you see in Melbourne, every week now you've got these visa protests. These immigrants, and the majority of them are ones that have come here on a student visa, they've overstayed their welcome, and now they're applying for asylum, when there's nothing wrong from going back to their own country. No. Like, the majority of these ones that come here, and they're currently sitting on an asylum visa, trying to get permanent residency, there's nothing preventing them going back to their home country. Not a damn thing. Except for the fact that they don't want to go. Sure, okay, if you want to stay, do it the right way. Right? Go through the proper channels. Be respectful, assimilate into the culture, because if you can't assimilate into the culture, there's no point in you being here. I mean, if you've left your own country because it's a hellhole, but then you want to bring your own country here, your own culture, here, why would we allow you to do that when it's your culture that turned your country into a shithole? Like, it just makes no sense. This is why I'm a staunch believer in net zero migration, and that net zero needs to be highly skilled, and I mean highly skilled, right? Culturally cohesive nations. Right? That's all we should be bringing in. And when I say culturally cohesive, this will be a little bit controversial for some people. Don't really care. Christian nations first. If you're not coming from a Christian-centric nation, we don't really want you here, because we are, at our core, at our heart, a Christian nation. And if you can't get on board with that, like, we've seen it this year again with Albo. Right? He beat around the bush so hard all year when it came to the major Christian Anglo-centric holidays. Happy Easter. Nah, we didn't get that out of him. He beat around the bush for days, nearly a solid week, before he'd come out and say Merry Christmas this year. Thankfully, he finally did, but even then, it was almost as if he was trying to slight us. But I will say one thing. Since November 6th, there's been a shift in the culture. And even here in Australia, a rapid shift. Now, we all know what happened November 5th. The US presidential election. Donald Trump won in a landslide. Fuck yeah, hoorah. The culture has already started to shift to the point we went out Christmas shopping. Everywhere we went, Merry Christmas, not Happy fucking Holidays. Like, the culture is already starting to shift. We need to keep the pressure on and keep that drive going. Even though there are some that we think are on our side, currently, it's broken as news today, are pushing for more Indian migration in particular. And I've got to say, I'm a little bit disappointed with these individuals coming out in favour of this stuff when everything else that they've pushed for has been for nation first up until this point.
Yeah, it's crazy. You were saying earlier off air, is it Elon Musk and who is it? I can't say.
Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yeah, so they're going out pro-Indian immigration.
Yeah.
And look, like I always say, like, if the world says Australia is the most successful multicultural country, like, if we have any success, it has been because, I would say, of Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Vietnamese, and Filipino immigration, because they're hard-working, law-abiding people.
Exactly. They come from a high-trust society, so that's the culture they want to import.
And, like, you know, I work in a very multi-ethnic workplace, and it's broken English, or, you know, just culturally, they're grown men who are, you know, in the early 20s or 30s. And even the same thing with even the Polish dude. There's a language barrier, and I'm not going to the pub with them. I'm not hanging out with the weekend. They're good guys who work hard, who are law-abiding citizens. It's a shame now the country, because we've introduce mass migration, they'll never buy a house. They'll never get ahead. They'll be tax slaves. They'll be working 80, 90% of their wage will be absolutely consumed just to get by. So I don't know. Like it's to me, I see them and I go, wow, the country's a lot tougher than it used to be. You can't even get ahead. So we're bringing people in to live shit, subpar lifestyle that they probably think is better than where they're from. In turn, it lowers our standard of living. It lowers the expectation of what is the good life in Australia. If you can't afford, to buy a home on a blue collar working class job, I think that's the reality now. So the standard of living's dropped, and mass migration's contributed to this greatly. If we keep bringing Indians in, if they're like, Indians are terrific, let's bring them in. Like, we're at this point where it's just like, look, man, if it would be a way different story if we're like, you can be a copper, you can be a concreter, you can be a forklift driver, you can be a truckie, and you can afford to buy a home in our cities on a blue collar wage, send your kids to a great school, go on holidays, have a nice car. Woo! Like, if that was the case, we would kind of have nothing. There'd be less for me to be concerned about. Do you know what I mean? But I think there's economic issues that weigh on this. There's cultural, look, Pacific Islanders, Filipinos, Latinos, I find are easier to go and have a beer with at the pub after work. They speak good English. They're Christian. Do you know what I mean? And that,
yep.
Can I see them being civic, nationalistic, and waving the Aussie flag? Like, I'd love them to. Like, I'd love to bring them on board and celebrate Australia Month. I'd love them to celebrate Australia Day. I'd love them to celebrate Anzac Month, Anzac Day, and feel as though that's their flag, that's their anthem. This is their constitution. These are the values. These are the public holidays. This is the culture. If that was the way it is, I'd be like, sweet. And I feel like it's a long journey and would be a difficult task. And this is where I say the government needs to just say, actually, it's not working. Let's be honest. I don't think we need to be nasty. Like, I don't believe in I think we're all made in God's image. And I don't think we need to be nasty to people who are just, I think, for the most part, just trying to make an honest living and get by. And that's fine. Like, I wish their countries would be successful. I wish they wouldn't have to feel like they have to leave. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, I get you.
Let's fix Australia, and let's say there's issues around the world. If we fix Australia and we lead by example, other countries could follow suit and fix where they're from too. Like, let's be honest, we don't need to make enemies. We need to fix our country, and we want to see the world a better place. Like, we have to try to be nice, and let's try to be positive in it.
Look, it's the thing is we do spend far too much time focused on other nations and not our own issues here in our own backyard. It's like eating out every night while you've got perfectly good food rotting in the fridge. I mean, what have we sent? $1.5 billion to Ukraine now? Like, we're a tiny little, like, backwater nation, basically. Like, what are we doing sending $1.5 billion to the Ukraine? A country on the other side of the world we don't share a border with, and we've got no place being involved in that. We're not a member of NATO. Like, why are we even getting involved in these foreign conflicts? Yeah. It just makes absolutely no sense.
Like, we're doing the old, we'll be involved, we'll give money, we'll contribute, because if war's ever on our doorstep, there's this, like, expectation that the European countries and America would come and, be a part, that we would be effed on our own. Like, that's true reality. So we're sort of like getting involved in things that the other side of the world's problems, because one day we think, geez, if we're in a situation, we're going to be calling on their help. You know, maybe the option is, nuclear submarines, get nuclear weapons, get nuclear power plants, up our own defense, you know, have a good, strong national defense, and then have a big stick, and then we're able to say, you know what, we're not going to get involved in, because, you know, if you don't get involved in other countries' business and you stay out of it, that's also a strategic strategy to not have war come your way. Like, we're investing in war. Maybe war's going to come our way because we're just creating.
And look, I can see where you're coming from, but my argument is we've already got the big stick, mate. What's that right there above our heads? That's a Union Jack. We're a member of the Commonwealth. We already have the big stick. We've got the backing of Britain. We've got the backing of Canada, even though Canada's a fucking hellscape of its own. But we've already got the big stick. We've got all the Commonwealth nations at our back. We don't need to be involved in these nonsensical fucking foreign wars that literally have nothing to do with us. I mean, it doesn't matter which way you go. Like
it's America dragging us in, or maybe, you know, hopefully Trump cleans it all up, and then we can say that the Republicans become the anti-war party, and then it's the Democrats who are the war hawks, and we need to be like, fucking let's get it over.
He's got some work to do there, though, because there are plenty of Republicans that are still fucking war hawks. It's the MAGA hardliners that are not the war hawks. But thankfully, he's got the backing of J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance is a former Marine. J.D. Vance knows his shit. J.D. Vance is the one that's going to help keep them, the war hawks, in line and out of major decision making. I mean, you look at people like Dan Crenshaw. He was carrying on last week about absolute fucking hogwash, like trying to get more money sent to fucking Ukraine. And it's like, no, the nation, America, voted, and they voted for less of this fucking military-industrial complex. And that's what it is. It's the military-industrial complex. They want their money. They got to get their bag. And I'm sorry, but we, the people, worldwide, have had enough of this bullshit. We're sick of pointless forever wars, that it's our men, our young boys that go off to die in or come back absolutely fucking traumatized, and there's nothing we can do for them. Because another big thing is you've got all these establishment career politicians in all Western nations that are full on against medical treatments that would actually help some of these guys recover. I've been listening to a fair bit of Joe Rogan recently, and he's a big proponent for psilocybin, using that to treat PTSD and things like that. And a lot of the guys he's had on the podcast that I've listened to, like they go to Mexico to get these treatments, and instantly, the day they come back, they throw all their SSRIs in the bin, and they're just forever changed. And this is on one treatment, man. Yeah. Right? The establishment career politicians are killing the West.
Mm-hmm. And like the dudes who are depressed are probably just injured. Like I know I took antidepressants, right? I think I was 29, injured, had torn tears in my biceps, and I was like, had to suck it up and go to work. I went to my doctor and I was like, give me antidepressants, anti-inflammatories, painkillers, whatever you got. And then I was just dog, drinking every night. And like the injuries made me feel, I was like, I'm fucking, the classroom wasn't for me. So I went into manual labor work and I'm like, how am I going to provide for my family? I'm a fucking loser. You know, I've got to be strong, and I'm just like, fuck. It psyched me out, and I was like, fuck. And so I would imagine some soldiers and veterans would feel similar. They've got injuries, they feel like, fuck, I can't contribute. I'm a meathead. They take these medications, and you know, they're addictive, whatever. They don't mix well with alcohol. Luckily enough, my injuries recovered. and healed. And then it's like, I learned a lot. Like, I learned a lot about, I guess, looking after yourself a bit better. You know what I mean? And them pills were like a quick fix. But I think with alcohol, they were quite dangerous. Like, let's be honest. Not that I think it just makes alcohol more enjoyable, and you just get a bit more wild, and you have a bit more fun, and you take more risks. That's what I think can happen. For myself, it was like it must like block your risk assessment ability, in that your instinctual, that's retarded, don't do that. You're like, who gives a fuck? And you're like drunk and you just do it. I thought, you know what I mean? Because I noticed once I stopped taking them and I got off them, and I was like, I would like feel a bit more anxious about things. Like even at work, I'm like, fuck, that's a bit dangerous. And I'm thinking, fuck, I was doing that all the time when I was on them pills, and I didn't feel anxious, because it can block the anxiousness out of your thinking. And I was like, fuck, you want to fuck with that. Like, you need to feel the danger, the instinctual, like, fuck, I feel a bit anxious on doing that. I'm not going to do that. But that's healthy. That's good. Don't block that out. Like, you know.
Yeah, no, look, anxiety gets a really bad rap. And what a lot of people don't realize is anxiety is part of your fight and flight response. Like, it's that emotion that you sit back and you reassess the situation. You're like, maybe I shouldn't fucking be doing that. But the problem is society has beaten us down, especially the men, into thinking that the moment you feel anxiety, oh no, something's wrong, I need to do something about that, I'm going to go pop a pill. Well, no. Part of ways to deal with your anxiety is A, yeah, you need to harden up and push through, or B, you need to sit back and reassess the situation. Because maybe it's not a situation you should be getting into. And like...
So, like, I think your body sends you signals. My body was sending me a signal. I'm a fucking, what the fuck am I doing? I'm injured. I can't do this anymore. And it's like, it's true. I have to put my head in a book. I have to reskill. I have to look for other ways to make a living. I have to, you know, like, it's a fact. Like, feeling anxiety and depression is your brain. I think, like, we're totally connected to our circumstance, and our circumstances are saying, you're a fuck up, you're a loser, you can't win here, dead end, change. You have to change, you have to adapt, you have to adapt. You know what I mean? And like you're saying, you take the pill, yummy, mask the feeling, and you continue on your the shit path where I have like, whether it's me going, I'm a concrete, I fucking can't do this, yeah, I probably do have to go get my truck license and just be a concrete truck driver. Get off the tools, do an easier route, like you know what I mean? And then I'd be like, whoa, I feel fucking better, because I'm listening to my body, and I'm listening to my circumstance, and I'm like in the present, and I'm adapting. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, look, it's true what they say, mate. Look, iron sharpens iron. Like, the only way we grow as men is we need to get into the thick of it. We need to make ourselves uncomfortable. Because what the biggest thing that really sharpens us and brings the true masculinity in us forward is by putting ourselves into situations that are tough, situations that are uncomfortable. Because let's be honest, life is not meant to be comfortable. It's only in the last 20 or 30 years that we as a society have gotten this idea that life's meant to be comfortable. And it's like, well, no, life is hard work. Like, you want to be successful, you've got to put in the hard work. You want a family, you've got to put in the hard work. Raising kids ain't easy. You know this firsthand. I know this firsthand. But that's the one thing I'm thankful for, is because of the conditions in our current society, because of the state of our society, Gen Z and Gen Alpha are really awake to the shit that's going on. Like, and we see this everywhere. On social media, we see a lot. I know I personally see a lot of young guys coming back to the faith and coming back to church. Like almost every week I go to church, I see a new face, and they're always a young face, like early 20s sort of thing, and they're just passionate, they're hungry, they're looking for that little bit of mentorship, that little bit of discipleship, so they can further themselves in the faith and become better men. But it's not just our men, it's our girls as well. So I spoke to my girls on Christmas Day, or Christmas night, because they had a massive day with their mum's side of the family and fucking lunch and all that sort of shit. And I was having a yarn, and my eldest, I couldn't believe it. It was music to my ears, to the point my wife turned around over my shoulder and she's like, she fucking sounds like you. Completely red-pilled. And what is she red-pilled over? So the topic of the conversation came up of my youngest. She's had a semi-serious boyfriend for the last 12 months. And he had to move away. He's had to move back to New Zealand with his family. And obviously the issue came up of, oh, well, at least we don't have to worry about any accidents happening. And I'm just like, yeah, righto. And instantly my eldest, her sister, snaps into it. And she's like, well, maybe if we didn't have a society where porn is completely normalised and everybody thinks this degenerate shit is normal. And I'm just like, fuck it, what? Proud dad moment. I'm just like, and she just went on a 10-minute spiel over it, and it was just like, holy shit! Like sitting back, listening to her talking points, it's like, have you been watching my fucking content, girl? And but no, she's just arrived at these conclusions off her own back, and it was just again really proud dad moment, and just my heart swelled. It was just like, I fucking love you, girl. Like she doesn't take praise very well. She's a very humble girl, so she got a bit quiet and a bit hee with it all. But it's just like, no, honey, you keep walking this path. Dad's fucking proud of you, and you've got your dad's support. So it's both our males and our females, like the younger generations, because they know they've been priced out of the housing market. They can see how hard it is to get a job out there at the moment. They can see how much, because they go shopping with their mum. And half the time, they've got to put things back because they can't afford those groceries. And it's ridiculous. It should be a case of, well, no, you see something you want, you see something that's good for you, that's healthy, put it in the fucking trolley and have it. Or you want to go down the local markets and get yourself a couple of nice little trinkets or a nice new fucking blouse or a skirt or some shit. Go and fucking do it. But they can't. Because money's so tight, and don't get me wrong, they're provided for. They don't really go without, but they can't have the extras because I already do a 60-hour week, and I'm working night shifts now, so I'm on a good fucking wicket. I mean, it's why it's been so long since I've been able to do a Thursday, and it's probably the last one for a while I'm going to get to do. But me and their mother, we do provide for them properly, and even then, it's a struggle to make ends meet, and they can see this. So they know the ramifications, and I think you'll find it won't be this federal election, but the election after in, what's that going to be, 28? The major parties are in for a major fucking shake-up, especially with the Libertarian Party coming up. One Nation's falling apart currently. I think in the last couple of weeks they've had 3 members quit the party. And these are sitting members of parliament. They're quitting the party and they're looking to go independent. So I foresee the Libertarian Party snapping most of them up. But it's just...
yeah, it's difficult.
Things are about to get very, 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 very turbulent here in Australia.
Roberts, I went to Dave Pallo's men's group a few weeks ago, 3-4 weeks ago. Malcolm Roberts is their absolute legend. And he was straight up you're doing Australia Month this year, in the new year. I'm like, yeah, mate. And he was just keen on it, keen as. Malcolm is an absolute solid as a rock guy. And I think One Nation has the net zero immigration policy that's there. That's a great policy. And I love them to bits. But I'm in the Libertarian Party because they have branches. I'm in the Ipswich branch. Libertarian branch in Ipswich is doing our January branch meeting is an Australia Month themed meet.
Love it.
They are part of the Libertarian Party in branches in Brisbane and Ipswich are going to be a key in organising the Australia Day. We're doing a big Australia Day family-friendly barbecue live band.
Yeah, I've seen the group messages and that, so no, good on you, man. I tried to get something organised over here, but unfortunately, as a one-man band over here, it's hard for financing. What I did want to do, I was unable to get a permit for, because like the city of Perth are a bit fucky with things like that. Like you've got to do them well in advance, sort of thing, and it's an absolute bloody nightmare. And yeah, look, no shade to Malcolm Roberts, stand-up dude. I've met him a couple of times as well. I've got a lot of love for him, but unfortunately, he's only one man. And I love that you brought up their net zero immigration, because there's a bit of a problem within One Nation. It's why I am no longer a member of One Nation. There's something I didn't think you'd expect to hear out of my mouth.
Yeah.
But so here in WA, the primary candidate they've put forward, right, is a Sikh Indian. And he is pro mass migration from India. Mm. He's the leading One Nation candidate at the federal election next year here in WA. Mm. So this is why there's a lot of men like myself, not just men, but the membership, especially here in WA, are very, very upset with One Nation currently, because again, it's mixed messaging, and they're saying one thing and then doing another. Mm-hmm. And it's ridiculous, it's shameful, and it's not why I signed on for the party, and it's why I'm no longer a member.
Mm-hmm. I seen that Indian dude do a video, and he said that he is for net zero immigration. So I don't know, but
his Facebook posts would say otherwise.
Okay, sweet. I haven't really looked into it. I've seen like another One Nation member get him on camera and be like, you know, what are your values? What do you believe? And he's like, I believe in the party policies, blah, 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 net zero immigration, but whatever. Like, so, I mean, we've got Malcolm, One Nation guys keen on our Australia Day barbecue and Australia Month. And we're doing a joint community barbecue open to the public. Libertarians, One Nation, Australian Nativists Association, British Australian Community, myself. There's going to be as many people. Damo from the other side, I think he said he's going to come along. So we want social media personalities, political parties, like fraternities, whatever. And like, if we can get more and more groups involved, we will, you know. So it's good to see that, you know, we're going to need a coalition, you know what I mean? And as much as I want One Nation to do better, or, you know what I mean, there's obviously a problem. Like, the people who are leaving the party, like the sitting members, are sort of saying they're not getting enough insight, or they're not getting enough understanding the plan, the vision. They're not a part of that process. Like, so that's unfortunate, you know, and who knows what's going to happen with it. I think Malcolm is up for the Senate. He's number one for the One Nation Queensland Senate. So, like, I'm going to vote one for Malcolm Roberts. I
100% support that. Again, he'd have my vote if I was in Queensland.
And, like, I know Jim Wilmont, who is the number one on the ticket for the Libertarian Party. Dunder Vikings, number 2 on the ticket. They're awesome dudes. I think they're like young enough to run again in 4 years. I think Malcolm I think we should get him in like one last time, and then I think he's in his 70s. He's sharp as a tack. Like, at this Christian men's barbecue at Dave Pallo's, like, we were putting him through the ringer. Like, everyone's trying to convert him. He did a really nice Christmas post, actually. I shared it. So maybe he definitely seemed like he was softening up to Christianity, and he was, you know what I mean, like, he was getting bombarded by some serious theologians and pastors and guys who are passionate Christians, and he was standing his own, and he was articulate. He's got it. Like Malcolm is switched on. He's 100% there as an older gentleman, so he's as fit as a fiddle mentally, and he's in the game. So, like, I'm going to have to tell my libertarian branch. They're going to be like, "What, Dusty? You're telling people you're going to vote number one for Malcolm Roberts?" In the, it's controversial. I don't know. Like,
I don't agree with that because, in my opinion, right. So, as you say, it's probably going to be his last term in the Senate, right? Which means if you get him in, he can go balls to the wall, push through everything that we as a nation want to see and actually affect some change, much like Senator Babet has been doing, the UAP senator from Victoria. But he's just been going ham with everything he's been doing in the Senate, his social media posts. I mean, I genuinely like that man. Like, he's an absolute character. He embodies the Australian larrikin, and he's willing to say the things that a lot of people in the mainstream, and especially our parliamentarians, are not willing to say because it's not politically correct or it might damage my brand. And it's like, well, no, like, do what we want you to do. We are your employer.
He embodies that civic nationalist. Like, I don't know what his heritage is. He doesn't look like Anglo-Celtic, but he's definitely
Moroccan.
Maybe
I think.
Maybe
don't quote me on that.
Like, he's obviously Mediterranean or something, right? He's somewhere around the Mediterranean Sea, but he's like a true Australian patriot. And I mean, I think Clive's registering again. People are saying he won't be able to register under the United Australia Party. Maybe he ends up registering under a slightly different name. Like, what's it matter? Who gives a shit? Like, he's got the cash to market it out and do that. If he needs to do that, he'll do whatever he needs to do. And I'm not 100% on everything going on that situation. But you know what? If Clive gets registered, I think a lot of people, if he bankrolls candidates, I would tell a lot of patriotic Australians, put your hand up and run. If he's going to pay you, have a run, because you'll get some great experience. And if he's going to pay for your core flutes and your how to vote cards and, you know what I mean, do an after party thing for you and do some advertising for the whole initiative nationwide, it's a great experience. I think it's a great experience for people. And, you know, that's it.
Look, it doesn't take much to register for a party, and I can honestly say if Clive does pull it off and gets the UAP in, I'm the first one that'll put my hands up and I'll run for the party, hands down.
Yeah.
Admittedly, I'd have quite a battle because I'm now in the seat of Perth here in Western Australia. It is a Labor stronghold. And it'd be very, very difficult to get over the line, but it's a fight I'm willing to take on, because the establishment, the uni party, they need a swift kick up the arse, mate. Like they've been resting on their laurels for too long, and they've been drifting far too far away, especially the Liberal Party, from their core values, the values that the party was established on. They're no longer the Conservative Party. They're literally just Labor light, and Conservatives like myself here in Australia, we're sick of it. We're sick of the Liberal Party. And this is why things like One Nation have done so well in the past. Libertarians are going to do well. The UAP has done fairly well in the past. So, like, there needs to be a big shake-up. But the big thing is that we need to see in Australian politics is these minor parties all need to come to the table, and we need to see a true coalition of patriotic, freedom-loving Aussie parliamentarians coming together and working together to better the lives of the everyday Australian. And currently the Uni Party's got no interest in doing that, so we need the miners to swallow some of their pride, harden the fuck up, and come to the negotiation table. It's time for these minor parties to stand up and do something for the everyday Aussie.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, I find it like very strange. Like if I think of the Greens, and they're like, we need more public housing. We want hundreds of thousands of public houses building. So it's like, okay, so you're gonna build public housing and put working class people in public housing, and they're just gonna rent. It'll be affordable rent for them. But it's like, that's just the complete wrong agenda. Like we want to be where working class people can afford to buy a home. So like obviously their political philosophy is socialism, ever expanding government. They want people to be dependent. Once you're dependent on the government, you're just going to keep voting for them. So they're creating like an ecosystem of perpetual future voters by having more and more people on social welfare, whether that's subsidized rent or whatever it is. On the other side, on the right, it's like we would love a functioning economy, affordable free market housing, wages that get you the loan to buy that home, that you can pay it off and you can have a lifestyle. So we want the free market to be able to produce this naturally. And then the mechanisms that could get us there is the mass migration and the red tape and the green tape. So obviously power prices have gone up. The Libertarians did something last week or the week before where they paid. You went to a servo. They're like, come to the service station this time and the fuel's going to be, we will pay the tax for you on your fuel. So they must have had a budget, and then they said we've got a budget, and for a certain amount of hours till that runs out, people were paying 99 cents for fuel. And it just shows you how much tax is on fuel, how much tax is on your beers, how much tax on your smokes, how much taxation is everywhere. And but good example, fuel prices, energy, you're paying pretty much, 75 cents a litre or more in tax. And you've got the same with your energy, your house power bills. My power bill's enormous. It's been insane. Like, I've had a quarterly power bill that was $1,400. So I'm spending $1,400. So since then, I've got 10 kilowatts of solar, and I'm waiting to see what my next power bill will be. I've got family living with me, so it's I've got how many adults? 4 adults and 2 kids, and I don't know. We probably we probably do use the aircon and whatever and go crazy, and we're not limiting our power usage, so it's like whatever.
You shouldn't have to.
Yeah, it's like a weird thing, but you think of my power bill and then you're like, well, Coles and Woolies are paying that. Every shop you go to is paying a power bill. Every business has got a power bill and a fuel bill, and that's been affected by the green carbon net zero and this pursuit of, essentially we're shutting down the coal-fired power plants, and we're, it's driving up energy prices because we're trying to reinvent the wheel of how we've done things for so long, and it's doubled or tripled our power prices. And
the stupid thing is for every one coal-fired power station the West closes down, China's building 7 more.
Yeah.
So, what difference are we actually making when you've got a nation like China that's got no interest in coming to the table with this fucking net zero fucking green efficiency bullshit, and they're building 7 to every one that we close down, and then the stupid thing is we're still mining coal and we're shipping it to fucking China and India to power their fucking coal-fired power plants.
And it's one flat Earth, bro. One floating sphere,
on the back of a turtle. Don't forget, on the back of a turtle.
Yeah, but it's one ecosystem where the coal that gets burnt. When I burn off trees in my backyard, that carbon is going up to the one atmosphere that the Chinaman breathes, or the fucking...
Well, the ridiculous thing is like they're all on about carbon dioxide, yet the planet has never been greener. And funny that, what do trees eat? Carbon dioxide. What do trees shit out after eating all that carbon dioxide? Fucking oxygen, bro. Like, if the planet's greener than it's ever been, that only helps reinforce the argument that our ecosystem is in a healthier position than it's ever been before. And like, look, I worked for a company that were into the whole renewables thing. I no longer work for them, thankfully, so I can finally start saying what I want to say when it comes to the renewable stuff. And I genuinely believe it's all absolute fucking hogwash, mate. Like, none of it's ever going to make any difference. Like, they're on about, batteries, they'll store the power. Like, yeah, and what happens when something goes wrong with those batteries? Where's your power coming from then? You need that backup system, and the only way you're going to get that backup system is coal-fired power plants. And the ridiculous thing is these batteries that they're putting out there, right? You want to know how they top up the batteries when they can't trickle charge them with solar power?
Well, they fire up a diesel
generators, mate. Diesel generators. Right, and like, don't get me wrong, diesel generators, they are one of the worst things possible for the planet, for the environment. I won't argue that. I mean, because you get fuel spills and you get oil spills and something goes wrong and the fucking thing catches on fire, and that stuff's not great for the environment. I'm the first one to admit that. But the issue is without that backup system, our mines don't run. Like, the camps aren't functioning for the guys that are out there in the middle of nowhere drawing these minerals out of the ground so we can have a high quality of life. The thing with renewables is they want to send us back to the fucking dark ages. I mean, that's why places like Sydney, they're essentially forcing these rolling brownouts or rolling blackouts to help reinforce, we don't have enough power. Well, stop wasting the time on renewables that will almost never offset their own carbon footprint. Each one of these fucking wind turbines that they put in, right, they only last 25 years. There's 500 tons of concrete in each fucking footing. I mean, you yourself should know how much concrete that is. That's a lot of fucking concrete, mate. What's the carbon footprint on that?
It's huge. They say like 20% of the global carbon footprint is from construction, and from cement in particular. Like, so it's totally hypocritical. It's retarded. Jim Wilmot, who is the number one Senate candidate for Libertarians Queensland, he's like, he does his own talks against the renewables, and he travels Queensland, and he goes to communities that are getting these wind turbines and solar farms, and he's getting the community together and fighting and educating them of what's going on, and pretty much essentially how it's not environmentally friendly. And it's almost like China, like there is people say like China is manufacturing all this crap and we're buying it off them. So it's like, it's in their interest to, they've got their own lobbying groups. There's lobbying groups for everything these days. And it's in their interest to lobby for the renewables, because at the end of the day, it's creating jobs in China and cash flowing their way. So, while they're buying our coal and burning coal, and it's like amazing for them. And maybe the Labor Party or the Greens are getting political donations from these renewable companies, these manufacturers of renewables. So it's like an ecosystem of patting each other's backs, and they can tell us whatever story we want to hear to motivate people to follow their walk in the direction they want us to. It might be like it's just a sales pitch for a not necessarily true agenda. Like, we could spin it. I spin it like this. Like, I say, like, electric cars. We're buying oil off the Middle East. It's a very unstable region, even if we never ever got involved ever again, if all Western countries said we're done, don't want nothing to do with it, the problem is if the oil ever stops flowing, we could starve. We could be in a very fucking horrible situation in a matter of months. So it's like the argument is to have an alternative transport like electric I'm not against it, because it might give us, the ability to, in 50 years, if we've got electric trucks driving around and we get it right and we nail that, whether it's hydrogen or electric, I'm not opposing it, because I think for our own national security, we're very vulnerable with oil. And you could like argue, I've got 10 kilowatts, I'm open to getting batteries, then I'm in more control of my energy needs as an individual. You know what I mean? Can I go off grid? We've spoken to Ipswich City Council about this. I'm like, the sales pitch for people who would love to be in suburban Ipswich to go off grid and have the battery and have the solar and be independent would be like a great sales pitch for many people, and I could then go buy an electric car and all my energy needs are taken care of. You know what I mean? That would be cool.
Yeah.
Like, sell me that. You don't have to sell me global warming and climate change. Like, it's not required. There is something there that I can see is pretty cool to be energy independent, and I'm fine with that. You know what I mean? I'm probably not fine with electric cars having, or probably all cars, new cars have GPS trackers, and maybe they could turn them all off with the internet. Maybe every new car's like that. So I'm not down with that, but I've got this thing in my pocket tracking me everywhere I go, and there's issues and issues and issues and issues, but they're not selling me Israel getting in wars and starting all this drama, and I think instability in the Middle East is not good when Australia is 100% reliant on foreign oil that comes from the Middle East. It's like, fucking, it is dangerous shit for this country. I wonder how Asia would go without flowing oil. Like, how does Indonesia or the Philippines or Vietnam, these countries that have got hundreds of millions of people, how do they go if oil gets shut off? The oil supply gets shut off for a month or two. How many millions of people starve? Like, fucking heaps.
Yep.
And that's probably a part of the reason why America is so onto it. Maybe they know that. And then, just tell people that then. Tell people, hey, we have to be on this area, because if fucking oil gets shut off, you could all starve to death. So we've got to be onto it and make sure the oil's flowing. If you tell us that, we'll be like, fucking sweet, I want to eat next month.
Yeah. Now, look, that's the issue. Like, Australia very much has the ability to be energy independent. I mean, we've got plenty of gas that we can draw upon. Why are we not focusing on that? It's a lot cleaner than coal is, yes, and we've got boatloads of it. The other is nuclear. Like, we've got our own uranium deposits. We don't have to go overseas to be investing in nuclear technology when we've got almost everything we need here in our own country. It's never made sense, and it wasn't that long ago we had the opportunity. So, pretty sure it's Germany is currently the electric superpower of Europe. Australia had that opportunity, I think it's about a decade ago now, to start putting in the infrastructure and become the electric powerhouse of the Southern Hemisphere. But our government at the time chose not to invest in this sort of stuff. And look, don't get me wrong, I don't think electricity is the way forward for a lot of things, partly because I don't think the battery technology is there. Look, Tesla, they're doing well, but they're a single product at the moment with the Teslas, with the car. The Cybertrucks, they're still haven't had a full rollout as yet. And even then, because I've heard Elon speak about this, they've only got like a 3, maybe 400-mile range on their battery before they need recharging. And that's just not going to cut it here in Australia. Not when you've got to travel thousands of fucking kilometres to get to your nearest charging station. So
it's
yeah, look.
Hydrogen then is the other contender.
Yes. Yep, 100%.
This is the thing about hydrogen. Like, you could almost, look, this is a stupid, retarded bogan talking. I don't know. Imagine instead of batteries, you could have a solar system. How come solar or wind can't that energy feed into a hydrogen plant where they create hydrogen, and then you've got, instead of a battery, you're storing hydrogen that then you burn when you need it? Do you know what I mean? Because, like, essentially, you're creating fuel is, we think of, an electric car, and you charge it up, and I'm running out of charge. And you've got a fuel tank that's full of fuel, that's full of future energy to burn as you need it. Like, it's the same principle. Like,
well, I mean, we sort of already have that with the hybrids that are petrol and electric, and they sort of feed off one another. So when the battery's getting low, as you're driving using the petrol, it's helping to recharge the battery. And like they're a decent enough car, but again, there's still those drawbacks of Australia's very unique. Like we're so spread apart that a lot of these hybrids, they're not going to cut it when crossing the Nullarbor. Like, it's such a long fucking trek, and that's what a lot of people don't understand is Australia is the same size as the continental United States. And like, once you start explaining that to people, especially Americans, they're like, wait, what? No, it's not. And it's like, yeah, it is, bro. Like, it's a 6-hour flight from one side of the country to the other, and that's if you've got a good headwind. Like, if you don't have a good headwind, that can almost push you out to 7.5 hours flight. Like, it's a 3-day drive from Perth to Brisbane in a semi-trailer. Like, and they've got a lot more pulling power and a lot more drive than the standard car. The standard car, you're looking at about 7 days to cross the nation. And with the way the technology is at the moment, it just doesn't have. It's not purpose built for Australia. That's the thing, is it needs to be purpose built for Australia. So we need Australians investing in our own technology to push us forward. We can't rely on these other companies and these other countries to do that for us.
Well, like, I know America could, and Canada have enough oil. We probably have enough oil. Like, you can keep oil going. You know, I'm not against oil or coal and sticking to the traditional fuels, but it's like a matter of we have to have a place to purchase it and to get it here and give ourselves security in that sense. Like, we're so vulnerable. Like, Biden shut down the Keystone Pipeline. There was going to be oil flowing from Canada and refined in America. Like, and I think that got shut down, and pretty sure that oil's going to China now to get refined, and it's not being refined in the most efficient, environmentally friendly ways. You know, so it's crazy. It's madness, and in a world with, we don't want a world with mass instability, but you know, you got crazy Taiwan and North Korea and Iran, and like, is that real, or is this like drummed up by Democrat war hawks? You know, who are like, there's crazy people who have they want to self-fulfill prophecies in Islam or in Zionist Jews who want to fulfill the prophecies of, you know, the Book of Daniel or Islam. They want to fulfill the like true Islamic extremists. They want these prophecies to happen. But then they're fucking actively driving the philosophy is actively driving towards a Armageddon scenario. Like, as a Christian, I want as much time. We want as much time to evangelize and win people to Jesus Christ. I'm not an accelerationist. I'm a de-acceleration.
Yep.
I want to de-accelerate that. I want to be a granddad, and I would love to see my children and children's children be discipled Christians and help evangelize this nation and the nations of the world.
I get it 100%.
Let's buy time. Let's invest in freedom and peace. Let's evangelize this world and give people a hope, not drive it towards the doomsday scenario. You know what I mean? Like, which I think is happening. Like, it seems like Israel's driving hard towards that, and the Islamists are driving hard towards that, and they're both like having a love affair of a horrible situation. Like, our Bible says a horrible situation at the end times, and it does pretty. Like, it doesn't.
No, it's not. It does not. Look, as a Christian, the second coming of Jesus will be a glorious time for those that are saved. Yeah. Those that aren't, it's absolutely horrifying. Like, I would hate to be in that position, knowing what I know now. Like, it's just no. And you're right. See, this is the thing. Like, we have to be so careful about the narratives we buy into today, because everyone's got an agenda. Everyone is willing to lie to us. And to get to the truth of a matter, you've actually got to be able to go out and do your own sleuthing. Like, you have to go to multiple sources. You have to go and chase the information today. We saw this with the whole mis and disinformation bill. Like, if that stuff had gone through, like, the only things we'd be getting now would be government-sanctioned narratives. And I'm sorry, but anyone that genuinely believes the government has our best interests at heart, I got a bridge in Sydney to sell you, bro.
Yeah. We don't know everything on the table. Like, we don't really know I think they, like, fail at propaganda, too. Like, their propaganda is fucking weird. Like, it seems like it seems like racism towards white people is that like a propaganda machine turning this anti-Anglo, Anglophobic, anti-white? Like, is this real? Like, it's coming through pop culture or mainstream news or political talking points, and you're like, what? Like,
oh, it's 100% propaganda, because they'll tell you can't be racist to a white person because white people hold all the institutions and the positions of power. So you can't be racist because racism is oppression versus power. Like, it's all bloody bullshit.
We got a dude in the comments section. We'll read it out. It's the first comment in a while. There are 3,800 movements running in America today. What demanding Anglo-Saxons to go back to Europe? Yeah. I mean, they created America. Is the most incredible place that Anglo white Europeans just created a freaking a powerful and beautiful place, like, of economic success and freedom, and just absolutely incredible. So, like, the people who are actively against Anglo-Saxons are the globalist cultural Marxists. That seems to me like who they are. Is it like there's a lot of people who say it's Jewish Zionists who are having an axe to grind for World War II? They, like, hate white people because of Adolf Hitler, or, historically I think every country on earth has been like, we don't want anything to do with you guys. See you later. So
110.
They have an axe to grind against the world, and I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't have all the information. I'm sure there's crazy people everywhere who are, retarded and evil. I mean, there is a thing where we go like, I'm talking to my father-in-law over Christmas. He's Labor, right? He's like, I'm not even a member of the Labor Party, but he's like, and I'm like, yeah, I'm a member of the Libertarian Party, and he's just like, every policy's like, but what would the Liberals do? What are the Liberals doing? And I'm like, everything is tribal left versus right for you, and it doesn't matter. It's not about, they forget about true and false, right and wrong, good and evil. It's just blind left and right. And I'm like, whoa, dude, I can't believe having the conversation with you. You don't even looking at it saying, look at your children, look at the future, look at your grandchildren, and be like, forget about the Labor, Liberal, left and right. Like, what the fuck are you creating? What is the country for working people? Like, unless your kid's going to be a fucking brain surgeon, right? Majority of people are going to be working class people. Even if you're a white collar worker, an engineer or an accountant, you're not that much ahead. You're not going to be having enough to get wealthy if what about frontline workers, police, soldiers, fireys, ambos?
Yep.
Guy who's going to rescue at the beach, the surf lifesaver. These people are like not going to be getting the great middle class lifestyle that was once the reason why people went to America. Like, this is the same. This is everywhere across the world. It's not just Australia. It's the
entire West.
When it's global, you're like, we're against a globalist agenda, like the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab's, the guy that were putting out, you will own nothing and be happy. And it's like, well, we're right there now. Like, we're right there now. They failed at COVID. We beat COVID. We beat COVID. I think we've had victory over that. But they just adapt their agenda anyway to get their goals. And the World Economic Forum has put out their agenda 30-30 or whatever it is. And it's like, well, we really need to, they're rolling this. It just seems like that's what's happening. Like, you go down the different rabbit holes, and you go, who's pulling the levers? What's happening? Are we governed by retards, or what's going wrong? Like, I hear John Ruddock and Libertarian. He's a Libertarian state MP. He seems like there's answers to the solution. There's things we can do to improve the country. And it's like crickets. No, Malcolm Roberts. There's things we can do. There's policies we can do to change things. And it's like crickets. It's like they've all signed up to whoever's lobbied them.
Yeah. Well, they're happy to keep the status quo in place because that's how they get paid. Like, they do the right things while they're in Parliament. They get these sweet, cushy CEO jobs or chief financial officer jobs once they leave. Great example was John Barilaro, Liberal state parliamentarian, deputy premier of New South Wales a few years back. He literally invented a ambassador position in New York for himself. He failed to get it in the end, but he literally invented this position for himself. And it was a cushy $500,000 a year paycheck, all paid by the Australian taxpayer, mind you. So he was still going to be on our payroll. And they
love the big government machine. They love it.
Oh, yeah. It's tough overall. And I'm thankful for COVID. I'm thankful we got COVID because COVID woke a lot of people up. COVID was the biggest mistake they've ever made, if you ask me, because it backfired monumentally on them. I know myself, if COVID hadn't happened, I would never have woken up. I'd still be drinking every day, getting stoned every day, sitting in my fucking studio playing fucking video games all the time.
Yeah.
Right, that was my life pre-COVID. COVID's what woke me up because they pushed too far, too hard, and a lot of people saw and they're like, that ain't right. we saw how the media, lockstep. I mean, you see the compilation videos out there of all these different news channels literally regurgitating the same fucking lines. We saw our politicians do the same thing. Like, oh, we are the sole. Who was it? Jacinda Ardern, the New Zealand Prime Minister. We will be your sole source of truthful information. Like, sorry, what? No. All governments do is lie to us. I mean, that's why you have top secret agencies. You don't want people to know something about it. Slap it with that top secret fucking stamp. We don't hear about it for 100 years. It was the biggest mistake they ever made because they dropped the mask too far, too quickly, and it backfired on them. Admittedly, not everybody woke up. There were a lot of people that were happy to swallow that pill. I mean, you still have people on social media today, literally today, I saw a post because, is it Jacinta Allen, the Premier of Victoria at the moment? They're trying to bring in these new laws to prevent face coverings and things like that at protests and things like that. So like face masks and kiefkas and whatever the fuck they call those bloody things. And people are up in arms. It's like, oh, we're right at the peak of a new wave of COVID here in Melbourne. How dare they do this? Because we're just trying to look after our health and safety. And it's like, bro, COVID's over. No, it's an ongoing pandemic. It's like, no, dude, it's over. It was called the flu. They just gave it a fancy new fucking name, and you drank the Kool-Aid. Don't pin that on me. But yeah, it was the biggest backfire.
Remember when like Hong Kong was popping off? Like we forget like Hong Kong was popping off. Looked like CIA, you know how CIA runs Antifa, like the left-wing Marxist nutcases. So it was like they followed the Antifa rule book. They were dressed like them. They were doing the exact same.
Yeah, the gas masks, the umbrellas, the whole lot.
It's like pallets of bricks on the side of the road. And then it was like, next thing, COVID's happening. Maybe China, I don't know, like, did China be like, fuck, the CIA's fucking around in Hong Kong and we got a problem on the hand? Did they release something? I don't know. But, like, really soon after that, the exact same thing that was happening in Hong Kong was happening all across America with the same black-dressed people with the exact same tactics. And you go like, what the fuck was going on? You know, what was going on? I don't know many, you know, George Floyd overdosed on fucking fentanyl. But everyone did say, and it didn't look good having your knee on a dude's neck. Like, that didn't look good. I was like, that's not professional. Like, professional. I'm a pro cop guy. If some meth addict in Ipswich is causing trouble around my neighborhood, I'll be like, yo, can you send a patrol car around? You know, I don't want to go and deal with it. I don't want to get stabbed by a fucking Eshe meth addict. You know, and like, the cops do a good job in Ipswich and Brisbane. The cops do a fucking good job. We should respect fireys and paramedics and, you know, fucking surf lifesavers and teachers, and, you know, we should. But like, you know, there seems that there was a fucking problem. I think, yes, like, cops should always try their best to do a great job, and, you know, they should have the freedom to use whatever force they feel necessary to keep themselves and the community safe. Like, I believe in that for sure. Like, if he fucking felt like he needed to put the knee on that dude's neck, maybe. And apparently it's going to get a retrial. I've read on Twitter that there's going to be a retrial on that. So, you know, hopefully that cop, now with everyone knows that it was fentanyl, hopefully gets out. He should be fucking released.
Oh, 100%. It's the same thing with the Daniel Penny case. I mean, 100%. Like, the stupid thing was, there was 3 guys that fucking neutralized Jordan Neely. Don't quote me on the first name. I know that Neely is right.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the other two guys were minorities. One was black. They didn't face any charges. It was only Daniel Penny that faced any sort of fucking repercussions because he was a white man. And I don't know if you saw any of the press releases or fucking speeches that they gave after the verdict got handed down. Like these Black Lives Matter activists were carrying on about there needs to be black vigilantes. Like Jordan Neely was some kind of vigilante. He was one dude on the subway. He saw these things happening. He's an ex-Marine. I'm not going to sit back and watch this dude scream at women and children and threaten them. I'm going to do something about it.
Threatening to throw people in front of a train.
It was ridiculous.
Like, I'm going to fucking throw some cunt in front of the train. And you're like, whoa, let's fucking put a headlock and fucking call the cops. He's going to kill someone. You know?
And then just a couple of days ago, some woman got set on fire, burnt to death.
Holy fuck.
On the New York subway. Nobody intervened because of the Daniel Penny case.
The law's set up against them. Like
if you'd intervened, all of a sudden you're on fucking trial because you're the bad guy because you did something to help your fellow man. Because they don't want that. They don't want that community. They don't want us standing up for each other.
Yeah.
Because the moment you've got that, all of a sudden you can't be controlled as easily because you're not reliant on the state again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like that's why we need to legalize pepper spray and bring in castle doctrine, and all them things would make the world a much more, I feel like, on the side of freedom and personal responsibility, and the laws on the side of citizens instead of like criminals, or you know what I mean. It's a proactive way to give people the right to defend themselves and their property in a fair and reasonable way. So it's like, how do we fucking drift into these scenarios, of this shit happening? It's fucking crazy. We see it, like you see it in Australia in a way, like, you do see shit like this happening. I think we're not there, like in America, this racist, everything's about race. Like I was talking to my missus the other day and I was like, forget the colour, like the people that are here in our functioning civilization in Ipswich. We've got Pacific Islanders and Aboriginals and Africans and majority white. Like we are a majority white, maybe 90% white. We probably are. And you know what? I said we shouldn't be, forget about the rainbow LGBT or the black Aboriginal stuff or whatever, like minority. I want special treatment. The only people getting special treatment, I sit on a train and it says pregnant lady, elderly person, injured person. There you go. That's it. They deserve, special treatment. Have special car parks so an injured, elderly, or pregnant person can get a car park available right at the front of the shop. Have special places for them to sit. Make the culture that you stand up and give them a seat. You open the door for them, and you respect people who they're the people who they should be treated differently. Elderly, injured, pregnant. Fuck.
Yep.
We're solving the world's problems. Like, don't care. Like, if your skin is black, you're a fag, you're Jewish or Muslim, whatever you think is a crippling, disabling issue. Like, no. Like, if you're a gay Jew, half-caste Aboriginal, and you're pregnant, you should have some extra things happening. Look,
I agree for the most part, but I will state that Racism is more prevalent in Australia now than it has ever been, in my opinion, and I solely blame Labor government's push for the voice to Parliament. Solely. Like, once upon a time, I'd never hear people getting called a white supremacist neo-Nazi in this country. And since that fucking vote, since that referendum, that's all I hear. It's the immediate response, especially from the left. Especially from the left. The moment you open your mouth and you are critical on anything where somebody is not white, you are instantly labelled a racist white supremacist, or you're being hateful, or you're a bigot, or you're being divisive, because you won't just swallow their narrative. But the moment you have people coming after the white man, the Anglo, here in Australia, no, that's fine. No, you guys deserve it. You're colonisers. Like, they're fine to label us with any slur possible, but the moment you want to stand up and even just notice that there's an issue with the other side of the argument, you're the worst human being. If these people had their way, you would be gulagged and you would face a firing squad just for having the opinion. I mean, we've seen it. I mean, the assassination on Trump. Like, because people have bought the mainstream lies. Oh, he's racist. He's this. He's divisive. No, we can't hash this out. We can't talk this out. Shoot him. End his life. And this is the problem. Like, we've strayed so far from this being able to have an exchange of ideas or being able to hash it out and talk about it to now it's the once peaceful anti-war left are now the warmongering firing squad of the Marxists. And the big thing is a lot of we're not communists. One of the guys having a crack at me on social media today, all over his feed from today is him celebrating communism in all these communist nations, Vietnam and fucking China, and it's like, but hang on, I'm the fucking bad guy, yet here you are glorifying ideologies that are responsible for the deaths of over 110 million people. But I'm the bad guy because I notice a couple of things, or I'm proud of my country, I'm proud of my heritage. I'm not saying it has to be your heritage. I'm saying it's my fucking heritage. I'm allowed to be proud of that. My family have been here for, I think, close to 10 generations now. My family, both sides of my family, helped build this nation. Like, I want to take some pride in that. I personally have helped build this nation. I've worked on infrastructure projects. I'm a trade qualified sheet metal worker. All I do is weld and machine things. All that kind of industry here in Australia feeds directly into infrastructure and mining. I literally played a part in building the greatness of my nation. I'm allowed to take some pride in that.
Absolutely. It like, now I see the left, the cultural Marxists, as people who we would have put in straight jackets. Like, we would
100%.
We would have just put them and been like, hey, you can play a game of Scrabble happening down this beautiful resort with all your buddies. And it's like, you know, cups of tea, and they can have arguments, and they can play Scrabble or Monopoly or Uno or whatever the fuck they want to do all day long. You know, like, we were better when we had them institutions for people who were sick, you know. And that's, man, like, the way they treat people, the way they carry on, like you're saying, it's fucking disgusting. And, you know, we simply just need to say it. Like, I'm kind of done arguing with them. You're just like, whoa. And, like, I am shocked that people go along with it. You know what I mean? Like, my father-in-law, I'm like, whoa, you're going along with the crazies, the woke mind virus. You're going along with these people, and you're just going with it. Like, they are fucking crazy. They're crazy. But all right, we'll wrap this up. We're hitting an hour and a half. Hazo, you'll
No worries, brother.
getting your guts out, and hopefully we see you. Maybe we'll try to do something during Australia month.
Definitely. I'll try and get something set up.
Yeah, sick, bro. So we can find you. What's your at Hayes?
At Hayes_media_, Twitter exclusive.
Bang, Twitter exclusive. And you've had a good consistent run growing your page and your following and your fan base.
It's stagnated a bit for the second half of the year. Partly my own doing, just a lack of content to put out. But I've also had a very, very turbulent 6 months for the end of this year. Just with changing churches, we had to move. That cost a lot of fucking money. And my rent went up 50%. I went from paying $500 a week to paying $750 a week. So it was a pretty big hit on the hip pocket. But no, we're going to get back into the swing of it. Australia month, keen as mustard, ready. We've already got plenty of articles lined up, same as we did last year. I've got a killer piece to put out for the nation's birthday on the 1st of January, Federation Day. Wow. So keep an eye out for that, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that bell icon, get notified when new articles drop. So yeah, they'll be a little bit out of sync once we get back to work, because obviously I'm a night shift worker now. I'm not even getting out of bed till midday now. So, but I'll try and have it lined up so that something drops at about 5-6 a.m. Australian Western Standard Time each day. So that's like what's that, 8-ish your time, which is a pretty good time for people to jump onto it. Nice. But yeah, no, looking forward to it. Don't really have much planned for the rest of the year next year, but we'll see where it takes us. And yeah, who knows? We could be very busy with. Well, we've got the federal election next year. We know that, so there's going to be lots to cover there. I'll try and make an effort to get out into the community, and even if I'm not doing anything personally, just try and speak to some of the candidates. I believe there's going to be a handful of libertarian candidates running over here, so it'd be nice just to get out there, give them a bit of a platform, and yeah, just do what I can to help out and try and write the course that this nation's on. Bloody oath.
I appreciate your commentary and just being a good bloke. Like, essentially, like, it's a strange thing to be like, you're a politically active person trying to grow social media in some sense like that, but I think the heart is just genuine to, grow a community of mates and to put your opinion out there so other people go, yeah, fucking oath, I'm sick of this crap, or they will identify with you and agree with you. And it's like, good, we're like building the culture. We're practitioners of the cultural rebirth or the continued fight to create a stable and prosperous nation, So it's I think I'm always inspired by you, bro.
Cheers, man. And as I say, while I may not have grown, I certainly didn't go backwards. Like we've sat very stable at about that 4.3, 4.4K mark. So I'm very happy with that. And I did manage to get monetized this year as well. Yeah. So that in itself is actually a feat at my size. Like I'm only a little fish in the grand scheme of things. Like a lot of the other guys that I knock around with that are monetized, they're all in the 20, 30, 40,000 follower range. And here's little old me at like 4K just being like, hi, yeah, I make $20-$30 a week, fortnight. I'm it covers my costs to pay for Twitter Blue and things like that. So I'm not going to complain.
Sick. Awesome, bro. Thanks, Hayes. We'll catch you during Australia month. Everyone give the dude a follow, or give me a follow if you've watched it and you're one of Hayes' mates. I'd appreciate it. God bless you, and we'll catch you next